Hello, I'm George Yantha. You're watching HealthWise, a program that aims to create more awareness of some of the common illnesses that affect many of us. Today, I'm talking about heart transplants. There are approximately 3,500 heart transplants performed worldwide each year, and my guest, Donny Brinklow, is celebrating 6 successful years with his new heart. Now, although I am not a medical expert, recently I was the recipient of a new kidney and pancreas, and I feel like it's given me a second chance at life, much like my guest today. Welcome, Donny.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So I guess we'll just jump right into this. Can you tell us a little bit about what led you to needing a heart transplant?
Heart disease runs in my family, quite serious. I have 7 brothers. And both parents had heart disease. I took it quite serious. I was quite active. I tried to watch my diet. I was a little overweight, but not a lot. Like I said, I was very active. And what led to the event is that September 27, 2014 was a normal day. I was at home working around outside in the yard. Hockey season has started, and I'm a goalie by chance. And my brother is on the same team, my twin brother, and he's a goalie. And he was out of town, and he asked me to step in for him. And I remember the night that I went down to hockey, I thought, if there was somebody else that would go, I would just stay home. It was too nice. I'm going in shorts, and it was a beautiful evening. Well, it was the best decision I ever made that I went that night. We went down to the hockey game. I got dressed. It wasn't 10 minutes into the game. A fellow player was going off the ice, complaining that he wasn't feeling well, and he was very competitive. So I said to the teammates, someone should go check on him. That's not like him to leave. It was a few minutes later that some action started to come down the ice, down towards my way. And a guy came across the line. He went to take a shot. And I remember to this day I just looked down and I felt a twinge right about here, a little twinge, like a flick. And I remember looking back up, and then that was it. It gets emotional sometimes talking about it. And I'll do my best to get through this. So anyways, I was down. I didn't know it. I just lost my thought there. So when I felt the twinge, that's the last thing I remember. I made the stop. They called the play. They did a line change. The players came out to do a line change, and they come to get the puck out of my glove. And with that, the first person that came onto the ice, his name was Curtis Clark with the Belleville Firefighters. I was playing a firefighting team with 4 firefighters on my team. And Curtis said that when he got to me, he said, I could hear your death breath. He said, I rolled you over and you were gone. He said, so within seconds, they were doing CPR and defibrillator. They had a defibrillator on me in less than 3 minutes. There was one in the arena, which is so fortunate. I was in the right place at the right time, the right conditions, with the right professionals who were flawless. They got me through it. I was gone for 17 minutes. They hit me 7 times with the defibrillator before they got me back. I was then transported to Napanee General, where they got me stable, and they sent me through to Kingston. And when I got to Kingston, I had 2 more heart attacks on the table. Dr. McClellan and her team were working on me at that time, and they got a stint in just in time. They came out and told the family. They gave them 24 hours. They expected me to live, but I wouldn't make it. Well, I did make it, as you can tell. After 24 hours, I went to 72 hours, and then I started to spike a fever. So upon investigation, they had found that while I was being intubated in the cath lab to have the stents put in to save my life, I had aspirated in my lungs, and nobody's seen it. So they ended up taking me down to respiratory and put me on life support. This whole time I'm unconscious. I was on life support for about 4 weeks before I started to come around. And when I did, the first thing waking up was like one big sleep. I do remember things. I remember there's a month where I have stories within stories, and I could dwell on that for an hour about the experiences I had and the places I went and the people I seen. And if you believe or not, you know, that's a whole other story that I love to share, and I do every chance I get. So when I did wake up, I was scared, and I knew I was in trouble. I had a trach right here in my throat, right here, because after I was intubated, I would chew on it and gnaw on it. I broke a couple of my teeth gnawing on a tube, so they ended up giving me a trach. But when you have a trach, you can't talk, you can't eat. Biggest thing is you can't speak.
Yeah.
Breathing is amazing. You can't outbreathe a ventilator. So when panic sits in and you try to breathe, you can't. It is so scary. Patty, my wife, who was my caregiver, who never left my side. Every time I woke up, she knew I was panicking, so she was there, and the staff was there, KGH, which are amazing, amazing staff. I can't say enough. I wouldn't be here today without them. So I got out of there, and then they transferred me to Belleville because there was, when I woke up, I was awake for about a week, and I was showing some signs of improvement, and they figured it was just my lungs, and I could go to rehab in Belleville because Kingston was so busy. Mm-hmm. So I got to Belleville. I did rehab for about 10 days, but I continued to deteriorate. So it got to the point where breathing was incredible. I couldn't have a conversation. I could only give you one-word answers. Eating, I had to time my breathing so I could swallow. I couldn't walk 10 feet. I had a walker. If I had to go anywhere else, I was in a wheelchair. All of this within a month from where I was physically very active to now I'm almost palliative. I need care around the clock. So I went to Kingston after a few more weeks for my checkup with Dr. McClellan to see how I was doing. And when I went in, Dr. McClellan asked me what was going on because I didn't walk and I had to be in a wheelchair. Mm-hmm. And when I was speaking to her, I could only give her one-word answers like I previously said. So she had to do a whole bunch of tests before I left that day. Sent me home, and she said, I will be in touch tonight. So she did call that night. It was mid-November. The next morning, I went to Kingston to speak to her in person. And I had to choose if I wanted to go to Kingston, if I wanted to go to Ottawa or Toronto, because she believes I needed further help than what Kingston General or that she had to offer. So I decided to go to Ottawa, which is one of the better decisions we've ever made. So I got up to Ottawa that night, and while I was being admitted, I thought I was going because of my meds weren't quite right to get me to where I needed to be. So I was there for a few days, and I was there for a longer 2 days. But after a few days, they put me on this drug called milrinone, and it worked wonders. I was able to be active again, but I had to go at my own pace. I wasn't allowed to leave the floor. But a few times they tried to take me off this drug, and each time I was back in bed within a few hours, unable to function. So after that, they decided that I needed a more severe intervention because medication wasn't doing it. It was an aid. So they did a background, behind the scenes, doing back workup, and they, after about 3 weeks, they took all the information they've been doing for a workup. They went to the board at the Ottawa Civic and presented my case. And they all agreed that, yes, I had to have a heart transplant. That was shocking. I didn't expect that. December 17th of 2014, Jackie Grennan, who's a transplant coordinator, came into our room and she said that my case had been presented and that I was a candidate. So now I'm on the list. So I'm in the hospital, I'm on the special drug, I'm on the list. So I'm rated higher on the emergency list for a donor. And that was a big one to accept, knowing that someone had to pass for me to live. and it's at Christmas time, and it's a time of giving and sharing and miracles, which is the big one.
Yeah.
Well, Christmas came and went, and there wasn't nothing. January 7th, 2015, my cardiologist, Dr. G, came into the office. She sat down beside the bed, and Patty was with me, and she said, "I have some news for you." She said, "We have a donor." So that night I had my heart transplant. So that was January the 7th. It happened to the night. So in the morning, they were going to let me sleep until Sunday. Well, now it's January the 8th, 2015. It's Thursday night, and I'm starting to wake up, which was unexpected. By Saturday, I was walking. By Sunday, they decided that on Monday they would move me up to a step-down unit, which was fantastic. I was doing so well. So that was on Monday. Friday, that following Friday, in the meantime, I've been walking the halls. I've been doing all my exercises. I had asked to leave, and they said no. So I had to stay the weekend, but come Monday, I was able to leave. 12 days post-transplant, here I am. We left the hospital. I had to stay in Ottawa for a while, make sure all the testing was good. So we were allowed to return home in March, and we have never looked back. I mean, it's been an amazing, amazing journey. This new normal, what I thought was normal before, and I accepted as that's who I am, compared to this now, it's a shame that somebody has to go through this to realize that what normal is supposed to be, which I think you can appreciate, George, now that you're a transplant recipient. It's amazing. You know, it's just, it's amazing. You wouldn't wish anybody to go through this to appreciate it, but I think all your loved ones and your friends see it, and they live life with you now, you know, with all your blessings that you get every day. You know, your friends see it, and I could go on and on for hours, but that's pretty much it. I'll add in there, though, I forgot to say at the beginning, I'm a father of 8 children.
Oh, wow.
From Shannonville, which is big because with 8 kids, maybe that's the reason everybody says that's why you had your heart attack. You're just busy. But I have a wonderful family. They've been by my side right from the get-go. So I'll just finish with that one. And if you have some more questions, I could go on for hours because I love talking about our story.
Well, there's always more. And big families, I'm the youngest of 6,
Yeah.
so I understand that. But I'm also the youngest by a lot, too. So, but so now you mentioned there was a family history of heart disease, but did you yourself have any pre-existing heart problems?
No. Nope. It was just a sudden massive heart attack. I had no previous signs as far as I'm concerned, or that even my doctors could tell. It was just one of those things that it was my time, almost.
Yeah. When you were told that, you know, we need you to have a heart transplant, obviously a difficult thing to take, but like, what was it going through your mind when you were finding this out? Like, I know for myself, like originally I was told it was a kidney failure, and I had the option for having the dual. It was a lot to take. For me, it was the weight, the not knowing, which was the hardest part for me. But like in your case, like yours is something that would ultimately affect your life overall. So
it was getting down to the wire. I was on a time clock, and I had to get a heart soon. I don't know how much time I had left. But you're right, though, the waiting is so stressful, you know. And like I said previously, knowing that somebody had to pass for me to get the gift of life, it was the nursing staff at the Ottawa Heart Institute that, for me, made it, for not just for me, for my whole family, my wife and my kids and my brothers and sister-in-laws, and they put it in terms that made sense, that, you know what, nobody had to really die, but you're giving the dying one's last wish.
Mm-hmm.
You're granting them their last wish. And I'm so blessed to be where I am today. I mean, knock on wood or a stone, or thank the Creator, or your beliefs,
Yeah.
Where I'm at, I'm very fortunate. I have met a lot of friends that have gone through this as well. And again, I count my blessings at where I am compared to where some of them are. I've lost a few friends along the way. Waiting. That really drives it home. It's a waiting game. And one of my a fellow that I met at the hospital, who passed, he said to me, he'd been waiting almost 5 years for a heart, and I only was on the list for like 3 weeks.
Wow.
One of the hardest things I had to do was to go and tell him my exciting news. And he said, "You know what, Donny?" He said, "It's not my time. When it's my time, I will get one. And if I don't, then it's my time." And he did get one, but he didn't make it. And that was one of the things I was worried about when they said, "Okay, we got a donor. Well, what if I don't make it through this operation?" One of the things I remember walking down the hall, the second last thing, I was walking back to my room with my oldest son. And we just had a 6-month-old granddaughter, Isabella. And I remember telling my son, I said, "Whatever you do, please let Isabella know who I was."
Yeah.
That was hard.
Oh.
I didn't make it. Yeah. But then after that, when they finally said, "Okay, it's time," my whole family walked me down the hall and said my goodbyes. And we just went from there. And I woke up the next night, and here we are. It's been a great, I tell everybody, I get a gift every day. I get to tell everybody, I get to tell my wife, my kids, I love them. Something that I didn't do before, so every day is a gift.
Yeah.
And this is what you do with it.
All right, so we just need to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we'll talk a bit more about aftercare and what all this, the kinds of effects this would have on people as well. Don't go away, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Healthwise. Today I'm talking about heart transplants, and my guest, Donny Brinklow, is celebrating 6 successful years with his new heart. Recently, I was the recipient of a new kidney and pancreas, and I feel like I've been given a second chance at life. Now, Donny, before the break, you shared your story about receiving the gift of a new heart. Let's talk a bit about the aftercare now. Donny, yours would be a little bit different from mine. You've also been through it a lot longer than I have already. So tell us a bit about what kind of aftercare there was for you and how it's affected both you and your wife and your family.
The aftercare is a struggle. Remembering your meds every day, your rejection drugs, it is so important. My wife and my kids, it's like clockwork. They ask me all the time, "Do you take your pills? Take your pills." I have it down to a science now where you just do it. But hygiene, we've had hand sanitizer in our house way before all this COVID stuff. I mean, it's been here. You come in the house, you scrub. If you come in the house and you're not feeling well, I will leave. I will go to another room. I keep my distance. I can't afford to get sick, and it works for me. And like I said, Patty and the children are all on guard. If somebody comes around, they're like, "Okay, no hugs. You keep your distance from Dad," and that's hard.
Yeah.
When you see a loved one and they're not feeling well, and you haven't seen them in so long, but you want to give them a hug, it's hard.
Yeah, it can be.
Especially when the grandchildren come around, and kids carry germs a lot more, especially when they're in school. Right? So the grandkids come, and I have to keep my distance, and they have a hard time understanding why. So sometimes you push the envelope. I get to sit down and play with them when really I should be keeping my distance. But,
Yeah.
you know, these are all gifts. They
Mhm.
are. You know, I have the opportunity. I could have missed all of this. I've got like 7 grandchildren now. I wouldn't have seen. My kids have graduated from college and university that I've got to go to attend. Um, and another thing I think it's important is you have to stay positive, right? Every day that you wake up is a gift, and you take it and you run with it. When I do my speaking, I always say every day is like Christmas for me. Um, it's a gift. I get to unwrap it, and what I do with it and how it unfolds is up to me.
Yeah.
You know, and I love it at the end of the day. So, and as far and the kids and Patty, like I say, it's been a struggle for them because they've had to change their lifestyle to accommodate me. And
Mhm.
I'm not in this alone. And George, you can appreciate this too. You're not in this alone either. It's a family affair that makes this work. You know, because when you think you're on your own, they're there to bring you up. You know, because some days are hard, some days are good,
Mhm.
but every day is a good day.
Yes, I've, like I said at the start, you know, it's like a second chance, and like I
Yeah.
have wasted no time in making the most of everything I can right now. Got myself engaged. I have a little one at home that I still do what I can for, but I can't do as much. Like I can't do a lot of lifting yet, as I'm still only 3 weeks out of transplant myself. But it can be hard because I mean I can't really visit people. I can't do a whole lot. I'm still limited to how much movement I can even do.
Yep.
But I wake up every day with a smile. You and I actually know each other through is the Transplant Advocate Association. Wonderful group that
Yes.
helps people who have had transplants or are waiting. I know I originally reached out looking for guests for my show. Turned out I've found all kinds of support like yourself. They've been very helpful for me with information I was looking for that the doctors can't provide. Like they can tell me everything medically, but they can't tell me like the idea of what it's like to go through it. Someone who already has a better idea of like, you know, what kind of aftercare you'd be looking at, just how much of a struggle it really can be.
Yes. I remember after my transplant, there were so many unknowns, and I felt like I was going through this alone. And there is some depression that goes with it.
Yes.
I thought, you know, I am I doing things right? Am I following what I'm supposed to? And, you know, and I had my family there to support me and get me through those low times. But once I found out through the Kingston Transplant Advocate Association, like you said, it's amazing to get together with other transplant patients and to help support those that are pre and or post
Yeah.
transplant. You sit and you have something in common, and it's a very uplifting experience to get you through this as well. And they're a great group in the Kingston branch. I can't say enough about them. There's one opening that's just reopened in Belleville. I'm hoping to get to one of their meetings, but this working for a living, as you know, really gets
Yeah.
in the way of your personal choices, but you have to work. So it makes it hard sometimes to
Yeah.
attend all these support groups, which I would love to.
But I mean, like, especially before my transplant too, I mean, the information that was there was very
Yes.
helpful. I mean, there
Yep.
was so much I didn't like I said, it's the waiting, the anxiety of it, because you know it's got to happen, but there is absolutely no idea on when. It's all like a hurry up and wait game. And
Right. And
that was what I struggled with most, is just like, I don't like waiting. I'm a very impatient person, and I don't have a choice. And there's no way to know how long it could possibly take. I just got very lucky with getting it done early, even during this strange times we're having right now.
yes, which, yeah, I'm very surprised they went through at this time. You know, But did you find that with the pre-transplant, and even post, the TAA, every time we met, it gave me hope. You know, it was an inspiration to go talk to fellow transplant patients. You know, they're all experiencing the same thing.
Yeah.
We all have a journey. We all have stories to tell, and to sit around to listen to what other people's journeys are, it's very inspirational.
You could find inspiration from other people's stories and their struggle, like how they fought through, say, the depression or anxiety, and you know, afterwards everything was just so different and better.
Trillium, the gift of life.
Yeah.
Be a donor if this is your belief. Be a donor. Like you say, you can save 8 lives. To save a life, to change the life of a child. You know, I go there all the time. It's like, can you imagine a child who's been a burn victim and you saved their life by giving them maybe some tissue?
Yeah.
Right? Or sight to somebody who had no sight. It's sure you've changed their life, but you saved their life.
So I want to thank you for doing this. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been greatly appreciated. Anytime if you need a speaker, I would love to join you and help spread the word.
And I want to thank everybody for watching.